Hello everyone, my project's name is an attempt to cross over. In Project A, I used to focus on improving the social well-being of the site residents, while my attention turned to the iteration of the design workflow itself. My ambition is to combine digital technology and my landscape knowledge to explore a new design workflow in landscape architecture practice, which is customizable and adaptable. I'd like to give a brief introduction to mixed reality. It allows the interaction between physical and digital objects in real time. I made two videos to help me explain. The show-off of the module is triggered by pressing the button. In the second video, the digital scenery jumps out once I am within 3 meters distance from the wall. Another definition I want to clarify ahead is common space. In short, it is a space between semi-private one and public one. Next, I will start from the driving force of this design research. This is a typical workflow in many Chinese landscape practices from my work experience and peer interviews. The interaction between users and designers is not sufficient to support our design and meet the demands of the local community. I used to be a designer in the mobile game industry, and the interaction in the three aspects are more interactive. So why not pick the advantages from these two workflows to create a new one that encourages interaction in every two aspects? Each of the interactions has a precedent to support my ambition. The use of augmented reality and video game as a design tool have inspired my workflow and introducing the local community to participate in design. Here are three major workflow iterations that are representative, and I would like to unpack the third one in our presentation. Others will be in my DRC. Designers will be the driving force, while the community can participate in the design process through mixed reality and guidance. The project will use specific structures which are easy to install and update in case of new demands and variations after construction. So, the next question is where to test my workflow. I choose the Hutong community in Guozijian Street, Dongcheng District, Beijing as my test site. There is a considerably large area of traditional cultural blocks, while the open space is insufficient to meet the demands of residents for various reasons, but mainly for speedy city expansion. The site map on the right illustrates it is hard to generate a green space network in a 400-meter radius, and the private illegal add-on buildings and tourist-oriented businesses worsen the situation as shown on the bottom left. Guozijian Street has three types of hutongs. Apart from Guozijian Street, most hutongs are narrower than 5 meters. In addition, Guozijian Street is a part of an officially recommended cultural tour route, which leads to the common space invasion in this area. A further analysis outcome is animated. The pink and scattered ones are the remaining public or common space available after filtering other land use types, and they are insufficient for social well-being. As I mentioned, the large area of historical structure, Guozijian and Confucian Temple, attracts entrepreneurs and tourist businesses, which squeezes the common space. I list the challenges and the conflicts and began to think about how to test my design process in this area. I would argue that Hutong is a dynamically stable system, which means it needs the flexibility and adaptability of a specific design strategy modularity. When we give an abstract pattern or relation and assemble them under certain rules, the module as a unit of a system can represent a collective entity, such as the relationship between tiles and the roof. And the similar logic can be found in bitmap painting. When looking at the city texture on various scales in Beijing, we can see that the regular shape repeats and the highly divided units distribute from north to south. It indicates the basic form of my modular system, square. I found that the structure of a traditional Chinese building can also be described as a modular system. All of the components of the building have their standards and the module. It is not something new, but something our ancestors have practiced for centuries. Another piece of evidence is that though Hutong is the traditional street network, it evolves with time slowly. People's life, our society, and the world are changing. Old activities and customs vanish in history, and new ones will take their place. But we still preserve it as the traditional Hutong. It's a sequential system in time. We can permeate and combine units and functions to create a series of modules that can be integrated into the local buildings and culture. Artificial intelligence can help us jump out of the fixed combination trap by providing unexpected ones. It is one of the most crucial steps in the workflow. The defaulted module says in the following steps originated from here, and designers are absolutely protagonists in this step. The outcome of this phase is the sprue. It is the end of the initial design by professionals and the beginning of the collaborative design in a workshop. The community doesn't need much professional knowledge, but can begin to play with this brew to generate their space iteration. From here, my design workflow, the site, and the modularity settings are ready. Next, I will unpack how these elements work with the mixed reality. I tried HoloLens 2 to simulate the design process, but it didn't meet my expectation. However, its UI inspired the following renderings. I will simulate the design process with community through mixed reality glasses. The Guozijian area projection will be displayed. The historical sites, residential compounds, education institutes, and the existing trees will be highlighted. They are unchangeable elements. The application provides information and data about these areas if necessary. The existing common space, including courtyards and street space, will be highlighted at the beginning. The spaces are classified based on their typology and potential expansion into several types, and each of them can meet several demands of residents. I propose two ways to expand the open space. The first one is to combine nearby micro ones to generate a larger one. It is common and practical, but it will make the courtyard lose semi-private property, and we can't predict everyone will cooperate with us to demolish their home. If the space can develop on top of the roof, it will also expand the area, but the buildings and the semi-private courtyard can be preserved. But it requires more budget since we have to consider more about the structure, and it will also be kind of emission of others' private room and sunshine. The simulated outcomes are highlighted with the responding functions. Note that not all spaces are used. As I said, there may be some spaces we cannot get through negotiation. When we want to focus on single-function layout, the application can highlight those and provide an approximate network. When zooming into a particular site, the basement will be presented with existing conditions and conflicts. Some elements can be moved temporarily to see the theme clearly. The former module sprue will be listed on the screen as the initial design options. Designers and residents can simply add on the modules or modify it based on the existing ones to suit the specific space. After the major design phase, detail can be discussed, such as the plant species and the products for the vendors. The valued character will be shown at the end to make people aware which kind of space still be needed to make other activities. After several rounds of this process, we can zoom out to review from the street level. I generated 6 iterations, and 3 of them will be unpacked further in the following chapter. For others, please see the appendix of my DRC. The parking in Huayang is more related to infrastructure, but solving the parking issues is the precondition of my proposal. The vertical parking entrance exit will be on both ends, helping residents park their vehicles. However, logistic activities can complement in the morning to ensure the business supply in this area. The mixed reality level can provide information for drivers to emphasize the prohibition and navigate to the parking entrance. It is one possible landscape intervention along Guozijian Street. The modularity module system is easy to install and modify when necessary. The common space used to be parking areas returns to the Huayang community, and the temporary vendors ensure the daily supply convenience. The digital layer provides the statics of the vegetation and the shopping information. People can click the button to see further details if they want. We use the rooftop this time, connecting the scattered space to provide a larger place for more activities. It connects several courtyards and brings neighbors to a place they are unfamiliar with but still in the Huayang community. The digital layers combine the landscape from Confucian Temple, prompting the traditional culture with the latest technology. Some exhibition can be held in this way. I will conclude my research with another workflow iteration. I created a new iteration of the workflow based on my research. More stakeholders and sponsors are included in this version to make it more practical, and the way how community participates has been specified as a series of workshops. My proposal encourages people to design their homeland and raise the design awareness of the public. But the core steps such as the module and the assemblage are still controlled and only can be done by professionals. And when there are conflicts that cannot be solved by discussion and negotiation, we have to make decisions for the community from the professional perspective. Several things I didn't unpack are listed here. What kind of influence the modularity system can have on the local ecosystem need to be clarified, and whether this system can influence tourism in the Huayang, and the further influence on a larger scale, such as district or urban levels, are all worth further development. Thanks for listening.